Hello students, and welcome to a brand new episode. This is episode 8 covering module 1 unit 2, in which we will be focusing on the writing process and applying it to write our report. As you may recall from a previous episode, we said that during the first term we have two types of writing. We have the narrative type of writing and the descriptive type of writing. In a previous episode, we covered the narrative type of writing, but in today's episode, we will be focusing on the descriptive type of writing. Now, what is descriptive writing? Let's understand and take a general idea. Descriptive writing is basically a type of writing that gives a clear and concise description of everything. It can be a place, an object, a person, an event. And while describing, you're trying to form a picture in your reader's mind. So that's one of the purposes of descriptive writing. Another purpose is to provide enough details to evoke the senses of the reader. Your descriptive writing must be detailed because you're trying to evoke the senses of sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch within your reader. And that's why you're describing your writing in a very realistic way that the reader can actually feel it. When it comes to writing a descriptive piece, there are some guidelines that you need to follow in order to write a well-written piece. So, it is important that your descriptive writing should be vivid, colorful, and details. So pay close attention to details. Try to visualize everything. You want your reader, when reading your writing, to actually recognize it if they saw it. So it is important to visualize everything. And think of it this way. Imagine you're telling a story to your friend, or you're telling your friend about an event you attended. You either have a short story or a long story. Your short story won't be detailed, so your friend cannot really imagine the situation. However, if you have a long story, it is filled with details that you can actually imagine it. Try to create sensory details like sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Even if you're describing something as basic as a tree. Think of things like, what does this look like? Sight. How does it smell? How does it taste? What's this and how does it feel? So try to think of things like that because you want your description to be as detailed as possible. It is important that you choose a good topic and decide what it is going to be about. So you're supposed to be able to give a clear description about your topic. Use descriptive words like adjectives to make your writing more interesting. Adjectives enhance your writing. They can actually create a clear picture to your reader. For example, if I tell you a sentence like, the dog sniffed, you can't really imagine the situation, but if I tell you, the big brown dog sniffed around the red rose bushes in the front yard, here you've created a complete different or new scene with the adjectives that we've used. Try to organize your details in chronological order so that they are clear to you and your reader. Reread and reflect to see if more details are needed or not. So sometimes your writing might have extra unnecessary details. You remove them, or it lacks details. So you need to reread and reflect in order to add more details. Now, before we start writing our topic, let's take a look at the writing process. Do you remember what's the writing process and how many stages there are? Excellent. We have 5 stages in the writing process. We start with pre-writing, stage number 1, drafting, revising, editing, and finally publishing. Let's go through them one by one. Starting with pre-writing for descriptive writing. What's pre-writing? It's basically the planning process or the planning stage. Here you are going to choose your topic. You're going to think about what you are going to write and how you are going to write your topic. So you're going to brainstorm here. you're going to think about the qualities you are going to describe about the place or the object or the event, and you're going to make a list of the details you will describe. In this stage, you will make a plan. It's either an outline, a mind map, or a graphic organizer in order to jot down your ideas to later on develop them in the drafting stage. Now, when planning, it is important to consider and know that our writing has 3 main parts. Do you know them? Yes, we have the introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Let's start with the introduction. The introduction is an introductory statement that sets the scene and introduces the reader to the topic. You're introducing your topic to the reader. Make sure to have a strong opening line that grabs the reader's attention. You want to grab the reader's attention in order for them to read your writing. We move on to the body paragraphs, which are 2 body paragraphs. Now, each body paragraph should develop a separate point and provide supporting details and specific examples. So it's not the same idea in both paragraphs, no, it's a separate point. Each body paragraph should begin with a topic sentence that states the main idea of the paragraph. You're introducing your idea to your readers with a topic sentence. And the last part of your essay would be the conclusion, which is basically where you will tie the ideas in your essay together. You're going to restate your point and end with a strong final sentence. In the conclusion, do not add anything new. Simply evaluate your ideas in the essay. What did you write? What did you state? And evaluate them and wrap things up with a short and final statement, like a summary. And that's the pre-writing stage. We move on to stage number 2, which is drafting. In the drafting stage, you're going to use the ideas mentioned in the plan and you're going to write a complete rough draft of the essay. Focus on the word rough here. So it's not the final draft yet, it's just a rough draft that you can edit later on. It is important in this stage that you develop a more cohesive text to organize your ideas. So focus on the things which will evoke images in the reader's mind when it comes to descriptive writing. And do not worry at all about spelling, grammar, and punctuation mistakes because all mistakes will be revised in the following step. Which brings us to revising your descriptive writing. What are you going to do in this stage? In the revision stage, students review, modify, and reorganize their work with the goal of making it better. When reviewing, ask yourself questions like, do my paragraphs confuse more than they describe? So with writing, are you confusing your reader or are you describing to them in detail? Are there enough details to give the reader a complete picture, or does your writing lack details? You need to add more details in order to create a complete picture? And do the word choice and figurative language involve the 5 senses? Was I able to evoke the 5 senses within the reader? So think of questions like that when you're trying to review your descriptive piece. We come to the 4th stage, which is the editing stage. In the revision stage, you will proofread and look out for language errors like grammar, spelling, punctuation marks, and edit to improve the style and clarity of your writing. Then we come to the final stage, which is the publishing stage, where you will share your report with the rest of the class. Now that we've gone through the writing process, it is important to know or have an idea about the rubrics for checking writing. So these are the rubrics that your teacher will follow when he or she grades your writing. So you will be graded on planning. Were you able to create a plan, either a mind map, an outline, or a graphic organizer? And were you able to jot down your ideas and thoughts? You will be graded on the exposition of ideas and coherence. Are your ideas strong or weak for your topic? Are they coherent, or is one idea talking about something and another idea about something else? So your ideas must be coherent, like a chain of thoughts. You will be graded on paragraphing and number of sentences. Do you have the correct number of paragraphs? And did you follow the correct number of sentences? You will be graded on grammar, so make sure your sentences are grammatically correct. You will also be graded on spelling. So if you're unsure of how to spell a word, refer back to a dictionary and check the spelling. And you will also be graded on punctuation and handwriting. So make sure to write in a clear and neat handwriting. Before we dig deep into the writing process and apply it to our task, let's look at some of the descriptive writing samples that we have. This is an excerpt from a story, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Let's read this paragraph, and while reading, try to look for the adjectives or the descriptive language that you can see in the paragraph and the details that can actually create an image in your mind. So let's read the paragraph together. Walking to school in the mornings, Charlie could see great blocks of chocolate piled up high in the shop windows, and he would stop and stare and press his nose against the glass, which makes his mouth water. Many times a day, he would see other children taking bars of creamy chocolate out of their pockets and chewing them greedily, and that, of course, was pure suffering. Do you see how detailed this piece is? Let's highlight some of the adjective and descriptive language that we have here. So you have great blocks of chocolate, describing the chocolates that is piled up high in the shop. You have, which makes his mouth water. So you can imagine the scene here. See, the chocolate here again is described as creamy chocolate. And what are the children doing? They are chewing them greedily. So you can also imagine the picture here. And this was pure suffering for Charlie. So as you can see, the paragraph here is detailed and has many adjectives which can help create an image in your mind. Let's look at another paragraph. Let's read it together and try to look for similar descriptive details. Mary Jones is the headmistress of Success School, a primary school for students 5 through 12 years old in England. Miss Jones is a grey-haired, respectable lady. She's strict, active, and hardworking. She is usually dressed in a smart and official uniform, similar to that of an officer. Miss Jones was an athlete when she was younger, and she still has a strong body. She walks around the school steadily and stops to talk to the teachers and students in a friendly way, always wearing a big smile. Everybody respects her. What an amazing lady. Do you see how this paragraph is filled with adjectives and details? So let's look at some of the details together. She is described, her physical appearance, as a grey-haired, respectable lady. What about her personality? She's strict, active, and hardworking. She is smart also, and she is actually dressed. Now they're describing how she is dressed, the outer look, as in a smart and official uniform, similar to that of an officer. Do you see how we compared her appearance to that of an officer? So to give you a clear image, she has a strong body, and she walks around the school steadily. So we're describing the way she walks. She talks to her students and teacher in a friendly way, wearing a big smile. See this figurative language here and descriptive language. She is wearing a big smile on her face. Now that we've looked at some of the descriptive pieces that we have, let's apply the procedure to write a topic about family traditions and celebrations. You can find a similar task in your student book, page 25. The task tells you to imagine you are being interviewed by an oral historian. What's an oral historian? An oral historian is basically a person who collects information about your family, your traditions, important memories, and records them. So, talk about your family traditions in Ramadan and your celebrations during Eid. Let's look at the task in further detail. Ramadan is an important Islamic ritual, and Eid is a great family celebration. The task tells you to write a short descriptive essay of 2 paragraphs describing family traditions and celebrations. Describe your family traditions in Ramadan and your family's celebrations during Eid. Now, before writing, we're going to collect ideas for our plan. So you're going to think of the traditions in Ramadan. What do? You pray, you have iftar with your family, you help those who are in need. You're going to also think of the Eid celebrations. What do? You go visit your family and gather together. You go to pray, and children receive money from the elderly. So these are all different ideas that we will brainstorm together. Now, let's look at the plan in detail. So, you will be writing 2 body paragraphs. So, you'll be focusing on 2 main ideas. You will ask yourself, where do I get them from? Well, from the task itself. It tells you to describe your family traditions in Ramadan. So, you're going to do that in your first body paragraph. And for your second body paragraph, you will talk about your Eid celebrations. So that's for our 2 body paragraphs. Your first body paragraph on the left side and the second body paragraph on the right side. And now you will provide details for these main ideas. So Ramadan traditions. What do you do in Ramadan? Fasting and cooking delicious meals. Praying to closely connect with Allah. Helping people in need by distributing meals as a kind gesture. Now that we've supported our idea here, let's look at some of the ideas for Eid celebrations. Family gatherings that bring joy and fun. The elderly kindly giving money, idea, to the kids. Go to beach houses by the beautiful sea as a getaway. Now that you've written your plan, you're going to take the ideas and write your rough draft. But before you do that, remember to use a capital letter after a full stop. Start a sentence with a capital letter. Use a full stop to show the end of the sentence. Use a comma to show a pause in a sentence. And use a question mark to show a direct question. Now, let's write the topic together. Your first body paragraph. Your introduction. What could be a good introduction sentence? Well, family traditions and celebrations are the essence of social life, and without them, life is dull and meaningless. See how I managed to state my point here and grab the reader's attention? We introduce our first idea in our first body paragraph. And this could be, every year we wait for Ramadan excitedly, like a child waiting for his turn on a joyful park ride. Do you see the comparison here? How I compared our wait for Ramadan to a child waiting on a joyful park ride. Now I'm going to support my idea here. Let's read the supporting details. We look forward for this holy month, which is filled with deep spiritual feelings. As devoted Muslims, we pray to closely connect with Allah the Almighty. Delicious food is cooked daily for iftar, where we gather as a family, impatiently waiting for the lovely sound of prayer. While breaking the fast around a table full of different sorts of food, we know that there are hungry souls out there unable to humbly satisfy their hunger. Therefore, we help in distributing basic meals for those who are in need as a gesture of kindness. Do you see how detailed our supporting details are? And we've included lots of adjectives here to support our main point. Now we will do the same for the second body paragraph. You will introduce your topic sentence and you will provide supporting details using descriptive language and end with a concluding sentence, as you can see here. After that, we will move on to the editing stage, where you will edit your work for any grammatical and spelling errors. And finally, this is how your topic should look like as a whole, free of errors. Don't forget to indent before your paragraphs. In this episode, we looked at how to plan and write a descriptive essay in detail. Thank you for watching.